good evening everyone. This is Town of Sheldon Selectboard Water Commissioner meeting for Monday, April 28th of 2025. For the agenda tonight, we've got an Act 181 briefing from Catherine Dimitrick from NRPC Executive Director. Tim Smith will stop by from Franklin County Industrial Development Corporation. Gonna get a Highway Department report, Town Administrator's report, a letter supporting the Historical Society grant application. Under things to sign and approve, we've got the April 14th meeting minutes to sign, warrants 2516 and 31688. Got some excess weight permits to sign. Under old business, we've got the salt shed site review, roadside mowing bids, tax mapping bids, signing authority and stipend for assistant treasurer, and act any other business when thought proper when met. Is there anything else we need to add to the agenda tonight?
Yeah, we received a contract this afternoon for the bicycle pedestrian grant project that we're doing in Sheldon Springs.
Okay. Is that to review or approve? Or?
It's to review and approve. We're working with NRPC as our project management, is doing the project management for them for that project, and we had a meeting last week to review. We had gone through, there's an at the ready process basically where you can pick acceptable vendors to do a bid on that project, and so the committee met and picked a vendor and solicited them for a bid, and they returned a proposal, and so we have a copy of that proposal now. The committee has met and wants to accept that proposal, so that now the proposal is before you guys to approve.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Good. All right, we'll jump right into this Act 181 briefing. What do you got for us?
Great, thanks so much for having me here tonight. For those of you who haven't met, I'm Catherine Dimitrick. I'm Executive Director of Northwest Regional Planning Commission. And I wanted to do two things tonight, actually. And in addition to giving you a briefing on Act 181, I just wanted to touch base briefly about regional planning and the work we're doing for Sheldon. I was looking at all the projects we have done and are doing with Sheldon, and we do a lot of really fun projects with the town, which is really great. We're really excited to be moving forward on this Connecting Sheldon project, and doing some of the bike and pedestrian planning in the springs. Additionally, you have a road erosion inventory grant that we'll be working to do all the data collection on Sheldon roads this summer. So we'll be out doing all the road erosion inventories and culvert inventories of all of your town roads, and that helps you meet the state requirements under the municipal roads general permit, which all towns have to follow. So I'm very excited about embarking on that. In addition to all of that, we also have our contract with you to do the zoning administration, and which we think from our perspective is working really well. And if you're interested in continuing, I'll follow up with you, but the contract does end June 30th, so we'll have to work on a new contract starting July 1, and we're definitely interested in continuing that as long as it's working for the town of Sheldon. And if there's any modifications we need to make, we're happy to talk about those. And then the Regional Planning Commission is governed by a board, so we have two members from each municipality in the region that governs all of our work. And in the absence of county government in Vermont, the Regional Planning Commission is really the one organization that exists between communities and the state. And we would love to have a little more representation from Sheldon. We do have Jeff Kane as one of your appointees, but you do have 2 seats, and so there has been a vacancy for a long time. We'd love to have somebody serving from Sheldon. The meetings are the last Wednesday of the month, and we always have a virtual option now, so it makes it a lot easier for people to think about coming. So just wanted to put a plug in for that. Happy to talk with anybody who may be interested.
Yeah. Actually, we did handle. I just haven't been in touch with you about. So they at the March meeting they appointed me to do that. So yeah. So
Remains private. I'll send you stuff.
Yeah. So yeah. Sorry. I've been remiss in
Oh,
getting that
great.
communicated to you, so.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, well, welcome. Welcome to the board. We're really
Right.
happy to have you. Great. Well, I don't expect you to be able to go tomorrow night, but I'll send you.
I think I will need to actually, so yeah, sorry.
Fabulous. So wonderful. Thank you. See, I come and you've already exceeded my expectations. All right, so Act 181, let me talk about this. So last year, the legislature passed Act 181, which made changes to 3 areas of how we do business in Vermont, related to planning and permitting. It made changes to Act 250, it made changes to the state designation and incentive program, and it made changes to regional planning. And I'll talk about each of those individually and how they all relate together. So under Act 250, the first change that it made was to put in some interim exemptions for housing. The whole point of this bill is to try to get permitting out of the way of housing and to make incentives more readily available. So before Act 181 was passed, if you were building 10 houses or more, you needed an Act 250 permit. With the passage of this bill, within designated villages, and Sheldon has 2, you have one at the creek and one at the springs. Within those designated centers plus a quarter mile around them, you can build up to 50 homes without needing an Act 250 permit. So there was a lot of housing relief just with that right there. It made a host of other exemptions too, like you can build an accessory dwelling unit without needing an Act 250 permit, even if you're living in a property that already has an Act 250 permit for another reason, you can do projects like that. But the one that impacts Sheldon the most is that interim exemption of 50 units within and a quarter mile around your designated villages. In terms of those designated villages, in order for Sheldon to get the 2 designations, you had to fill out an application, submit it to a state board, they reviewed it, played around with boundaries, and then granted you this designation, and you have to renew it every, I think it's 8 years now. You won't have to do that anymore. That whole process has gone away. What's taken its place is the regional plan. So just like the town of Sheldon has a town plan, the Regional Planning Commission adopts a regional plan. We have in that regional plan a future land use map, just like you have in your town plan. Your future land use map sets the stage for your zoning regulations. Our future land use map never used to set the stage for anything. We would do it and it was a policy document, it was aspirational, it would come into play in some Act 250 permits, but other than that it didn't really mean much. Well, now it's going to have impact in Act 250 and in the state designation program. So now when we adopt our regional plan, our future land use map will show the designated centers like you already have, plus some areas around there where Sheldon can grow. And those 2 areas together will be eligible for ongoing Act 250 relief of that 50 units or more for housing, and will be eligible for state financial incentives like tax credits and priority and grant programs. So you won't have to do as much work at the local level. Our regional plan maps will be adopted by our board and then approved by a new state board, and once they're approved, then the Act 250 benefits and the designation and incentive program benefits are in place without you having to do an application. So the regional plans actually mean a lot more now for those 2 reasons, and because of that, we're doing a much more detailed process working with our towns to get to a map that our towns are happy with, that meet the requirements of statute. So statute has a whole bunch of requirements we have to follow, but we also want to make maps within that meet the needs of the towns. So we're meeting with select boards and planning commissions to go over these maps in great detail. We're meeting with your planning commission on May 6th, and I can't remember who from our staff is meeting with them, but they'll spend like an hour talking about this as opposed to the 5-minute overview I gave you. So they'll spend a lot more time with your planning commission. We just wanted to let you know that that's happening and that we're working with your planning commission. Sheldon is one of the final communities. We have another couple that we're doing at the beginning of May. And after we've met with all of our communities, we're going to be doing a broad public outreach process through the summer and into the fall. Now, the Act 250 benefit that I mentioned of being able to build 50 housing units or less without needing a 250 permit. That's in place now for the villages and a quarter mile around it. Once our regional plan is adopted, it's up to the select boards in the towns whether you want to continue that. So you'll have to make a decision for the areas that we map as growth areas in the town, which will follow largely your zoning. Do you want that 50 unit trigger to stay in place, or do you want to go back to 10 units? That would trigger Act 250. So that's a policy decision you'll have to make as a select board, because the statute was set up so that towns have to opt in to continue that 50 unit threshold. With the timing of when we expect to be done our regional plan, we would expect the towns in our region to need to make that decision in the September, October time period. So I wanted to make sure I gave them lots of heads up about that coming. We'll do a lot more follow-up and more information to you in advance of that. And like I said, we'll do a really robust public participation and outreach over the summer and into early fall. So there'll be a lot more information coming. But I just wanted to introduce it to you and make sure you're aware of it and that work we're doing with your planning commission.
And make it 10 or up to 50 units
Up to 50 units.
in the center that we have now, plus a quarter mile,
Yep,
another quarter mile around.
yep.
Could you have could you have the quarter mile around and just stick with the 10 units, or, you know, or is it 10 units or 50 units and the extra quarter mile?
I don't think I'm understanding the question.
Okay, so you're expanding the village center
Yeah.
a quarter mile.
Yeah,
Okay, so, and you, within that area,
yeah,
the 50 units,
yeah.
but can you expand it the quarter mile and just keep it at 10?
Oh, so beyond the,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, so anything outside that quarter mile is 10 units, is still a trigger.
Okay, yeah.
So it's only within the quarter mile that's 50 units.
That's the, I have a hard time to believe anybody's gonna build 50 units.
There's a lot of other things that get in the way of building housing.
Yeah, right.
The whole idea of this bill was to just at least remove one of the potential barriers. It doesn't mean somebody has to build 50 housing
No.
units. We've had,
No.
what we've seen happen in a lot of cases is someone was going to build 9 and now they're building 13. You know, so it's that incremental change where they kept it under 10 to avoid Act 250, and now they're throwing a few more units in. It doesn't take away any of the local regulations. They still have to meet all the local regulations and water, wastewater, which is always a hurdle, and, you know, any wetlands permits or anything else.
Yeah, that's the boogeyman,
Yeah,
the wetlands.
yeah, and it doesn't do anything to change the price of lumber or anything like
No.
that,
No,
but it's something.
no. Taking care of some red tape.
Yes. Yeah.
It's my understanding that the way that the law was written, that area, that radius right now is sort of arbitrary.
It's
And
totally
and what the regional plan is gonna be doing is sort of providing shape to that, so you're gonna put wetlands into that. Well, right now, there's no like river corridors, wetlands are included in that. So there's gonna be some carve outs from that in the village areas, from just by what the NRPC is gonna be doing, so.
Exactly.
And then there's a decision, so then whatever you're left with in that area, then you can decide if you want 10 unit or 50 unit.
Yeah. Yeah, and in some cases, when we work with your planning commission on the map, it might be more than a quarter acre. In some cases, quarter mile around the village. In some cases, it might be less, because it'll be a shape that makes sense for Sheldon rather than just like drawing boundary line.
Yeah. And that will have something for the board to make a decision about some of that in September.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, that sounds good.
I know in a lot of towns, I think the planning commission is gonna make a recommendation to the select board,
Yeah.
but Doesn't have to be that way.
Well. Okay.
Well, I know you're a full agenda, so I don't want
Thank
to
you.
take any more time than just giving you the quick introduction.
Sounds good.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, have a good rest of your meeting.
All right, thank you.
Alright, I guess we'll take the highway department report here.
Oh, I forgot to mention last time that none of us missed any days, any storm days this year, which is a big plus from previous years. It's pretty nice. All the roads got graded once so far. Both new guys got their turns on the grader. Matt did some grading
Say how'd they do?
Yeah, good.
Yeah?
Yeah. Obviously, you know, they're still a little spongy, like you got the Swamp Road and, the end of Duffy Hill and whatnot. They're still a little spongy, so, we'll have to wait it out, you know. We took care of the stockpile of the stone. There was like approximately like 85 loads, and we had it all cleaned up by the 17th of March, which is basically before anyone opened anyway, so. We tried to do it in the morning while the roads were still froze, like during sugar season when it was cold. And then once it warmed up and it got a little soft, we backed off. And everything went to the east, and we did buy a few loads for Memorial Road and Poor Farm from SLC and so on. Dust control, chloride's like $1.13 a gallon this year. Last year was like $1.11, so it's not a huge increase, but it's a little bit. We have like there's like 1,800 gallons left from this winter's mix that we can mix with it or just use it for dust control.
That can be mixed with that.
Yeah, it could be mixed. So it's like enough to do like Duffy Hill per se, one pass through, or like, you know, it'd be enough to do like Colton and Gilman roads. All the landscaping's done from the plow damage. There's like probably like 2 hours left to sweep in and do around town. You kind of gotta pick and choose your days when it's winter enough, so there's like 2 hours left of that. I got in touch with the moor's been put together down at CCR, so that should be ready this week or next, I'd say.
The other one's all set, doesn't need anything.
Yeah, it does. And we threw some parts at it. We've been to Champlain equipment a few times. Hunter actually mowed the Bortles field today, just to knock it down. It wasn't that bad, just to try it out. And,
Yeah. But I think the game's starting tomorrow, so.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
You look good. I was up there tonight.
But other than that, we'll do all the mowing probably on like a Thursday probably Thursdays, until we can keep ahead of it, just before the weekend.
Yep.
Which brings me to, we'll start our 410s next week. It'd be May 5th. We've been pulling the plows and wings off the trucks. We usually go through them and paint them all and doing repairs. There's a broken cutting edge on one, and I noticed that backhoe bucket's got a tooth missing that needs to be welded. I don't know, we'll probably have to bring it to Mountain Courts or something. And all the engine oil needs to be changed. I did the F-250 today, but everything needs to be changed. It was a long winter. Greenup Days like it's this weekend, so we'll probably like either
I think
Thursday.
Thursdays
Yeah.
and the dumpster's coming in, it's gonna be there till Tuesday, yeah.
Usually there's always been, it never fails. There's a few tires we picked up off the road, but it never fails. There's usually a ton of tires. So it's usually like 2 tandem loads, the big truck loads full of tires. The first like 90 tires, I believe, are free throughout the towns, and then the next load you have to pay $6 a tire for. But what are you gonna do? So we bring those down to Georgia.
Yeah.
I'll schedule an appointment ahead of time, and then that way we can bring them down like right off Tuesday morning, Monday morning or something.
And dump them over in Eansburg.
Okay.
Ask them how many they're at.
I think we put a little bit more money
I
on
see, I
it
see.
this year because that's what
heard-
put us over. is the tires.
Oh, really?
I think.
My-
It never fails. It's like, yeah, the first load's basically free, and then you pay
Yeah.
pretty good, but it's the same price as taking them to Casella, so,
Yeah.
Tires over in Eansburg, holy moly.
yeah.
But there's 10, 15 on the road.
Yeah, it never fails. They just get dumped over the weekend and all the,
Favorite spots around
yeah.
town? Yep.
So we'll take care of that. I ordered backhoe tires today because the salesman stopped by last week, I think, and said the price was going up on tires like in mid-May. So I took his word for it, and we got a pretty good deal, state pricing. So we'll probably just stock them in the garage until the end of the summer. Then get a tire guy lined up. And there was a bunch of signs that came up missing, like kind of all at once. So before I left, I ordered some signs, and I just got the call that they came in. Or they're all done, so we can go down and grab those.
I wasn't here at the last meeting. Did one of our road crew take the water test again?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he's got it scheduled for May 7th.
May 7th, okay.
Yeah, so he took it the first week of April and he came close, but didn't pass again. So he's been working with
Okay.
someone from Rural Waters come up to basically do one-on-one coaching with him a couple times. So I don't know. That seems to go well. He's had a couple days where he just spent the whole day with him in here. So
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, he's scheduled. Yeah, first week of May he's going to take it again.
Yeah.
And then anything on the welding training for the other night? Because you mentioned the bucket tooth, and I was like,
Yeah.
so you meant,
I
have you
forget if
mentioned
there's
it?
this.
Yeah, we did some practicing and stuff, but they only offer the course like once a year. I think it's in the fall.
Okay.
When it comes up, and then of course there are some courses that pop up here and there, but we repeat ones that we did this winter.
Yeah, they put out on a listserv. They put out a whole bunch of them there.
So the shanks broke out of the bucket.
Yeah, but it's not. It's the tooth. It's more than a tooth.
It's the
I
shank.
have the tooth ordered, but it needs to be welded up on the.
The shank's gone.
Yeah, it's probably over my head.
The shank that holds the tooth on.
Yeah, exactly. It needs to be like cut out, and it probably is a lumber job.
Yeah. That's
We really don't use that bucket. It's like the first time it's been on for a few years now. But we used it for ripping down the building. Backhoe had a few hoses here and there this spring and blow out and kind of in the middle of nowhere, but we didn't really lose much oil out of the deal. It's just kind of a hassle. And they're not getting any cheaper, but
Nothing's getting any cheaper.
some are easier to get to than others, and some are like a full day job. We had to take the back wheel off just to get to one that runs the loader car.
Yeah.
And we swapped Hunter's truck. He had snow tires on, and we wanted to kind of save for next year on rims, and we have some summer tires we rotate out. Those got to be put on, and a few other maintenance things in the shop.
We should try to get the greater steering columns to run
Yeah.
without
There's a small engine oil leak on that. It's not. It looks worse than what it is, but I got a guy coming. We're scheduled for like a week out, 10 days out. He's gonna come take a look at it. think sometime this week or next, we're gonna do the shoulders on Pleasant Street and around by Bridge Street. We'll get those taken off and get the grass growing back on there. Have a lot of mulching seeded, probably like either the same day or the next morning. It depends on how many we'll be running to.
You wanna move that sand with a machine, what do you wanna? Does Spalding still got a machine to,
Yeah, I think so.
you could come down?
Yeah.
What do you want?
I'd call around and see who's available or,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what get a machine in to move that pile.
yeah.
And then I'll get cause you're gonna wanna park all your plows somewhere,
Yeah.
not where they are.
No.
Huh.
We usually park them on those rails in between the buildings.
Yeah, but we get the sand moved and we're gonna get another bid on the on the concrete.
Yep. The guardrails took off where they left off from last year. It kind of caught me off guard. Last year they were gonna do Sheldon Heights,
Yeah.
that little strip right there, but they kind of, it was like their last day of work and down by the mill, which is more important than that spot. So the first day out, they called up and wanted to install those. So I was like, as long as it's not gonna cost, much. And it was like $2,800
$2,800 or
Yeah.
something like that, yeah.
So it was like half the
Yeah, we budgeted 5,000
Yeah.
for it, so, yeah.
that was the last spot. I think someday I'd like to see these down here on Bridge Street widened. It'd be nice because it's hard to plow around when you meet traffic coming around the corner.
Yeah.
It's not bad when it's dark out, you can see them coming, but during the morning rush, if we could widen them, at least one side for starters. Then we could put a wider shoulder on one side or the other. If you get a tractors with big ag tractors and whatnot, it's hard for other traffic to get around them.
Where's this now?
Right on Bridge Street, around
On
Pleasant
Pleasant
Street,
Street, where the culvert is, right when you turn toward Bridge Street.
right at the top of church.
So like what side? Like towards like the food shelf side?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
There's some, I forgot, there's the culvert, when you guys change that culvert in there, there's some that's sticking out. on
Yeah,
this-
they put,
on that side.
it's longer on the downstream side. So I think if we put more material on the downstream side, we could expand the shoulder and even, 2 feet would make a big difference or, 36 inches. It would give a little more room right there. in the
Yeah.
corner.
What was it on 105 that you were saying needs guardrails?
Oh,
By
State Park.
Well, yeah, the end of State Park Road.
What do we have? We have to coordinate with the state to make a
Well,
Yeah, I guess you have to.
recommendation or a request.
well, you gotta write a letter and send it out to district office.
Yeah.
That's what you gotta do.
I asked the district about that, and they just said that they couldn't, that's basically what they said. They weren't gonna, they're obviously doing the paving project through here right now.
Right.
They're just paving, and there's a few things that are gonna change, but they're not adding too much to that, so, yeah, if we wanted to make that request, we could do that, but,
Well, it's strange, it's just strange.
At some point too, I meant to do it today, but get in touch with a few of the pavement estimators, so they can come up and give us some estimates on our roads.
Have you heard what pavement costs this year?
I have not. They usually don't come out until like the mid-April, which is the first of April, so
Mid-May, you mean?
usually it's April, they know. But, I gotta get in touch with Blake, and I noticed they're doing 105, so,
Yeah.
maybe they could roll in, you know, Matt and I
Right.
talked about a few of those, Clark could use some, there.
Most of the ones that we look at are in the junction area. It'd be good to do right at least the front of Port Farm Road too, because there's some damage there too. But and then the other road we were looking at is the paved part of the Maury Road from where is dirt to Highgate. That's probably the worst.
You head to the Charles Circle,
Yeah.
What circle?
the Charles Circle,
And
where the Haggy line
to
is.
the where the Highgate line is.
I know what.
Yeah, so it depends, I guess, we'll see what the price is and see how much we can do with those. The good thing is that all those ones in the junction are all pretty short.
Yeah.
And the state's already gonna pave.
Yeah, I wanna have the
5
state come
feet
through
probably, so.
and have them do the aprons, and then that way it'll save us.
No, I went to the pre-construction meeting I joined the pre-construction meeting for the paving, for this, what the state is doing, and that's what I haven't received it from them yet, but that's mostly what I asked about, was trying to figure out how far they were gonna pave on all these roads. And I have pointed out to them again that the state really owns Mill Street all the way to the stop sign by the store, so I don't know if they're gonna pave that or not, but they really should, because it doesn't belong to the town, so I don't. But if they do pave it, we should probably, figure out, because there's some, water, there's water valves and sewer covers in there that need to get size for them, or I'm not sure who would handle that or not, but,
Put risers on them?
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would be necessary or not, but it'd be worth a discussion.
Yep.
I got a call today, I didn't talk to Seth in it because he called after, last year when we talked to the state about, they had called us because they're doing this culvert work right now, and they had called to, ask about our water line and what happened, if there was a problem with the water line when they were doing those culverts, if they snagged one, would they want us to fix it or have them fix it? And anyway, in all that, we had a discussion about some of the culverts along the way there. And one that we were hoping that they would consider changing is the one on the end of Shawville Road, right where it comes out on 105. But apparently the state considers that to be our culvert, even though it's in the state right of way. So there are 3 culverts in Sheldon that they consider, on the 105 in the state right of way, that they consider the town's. The one on the end of Shawville Road, and then the one that really gets me is the one that goes across 105, right where we had the water line leak. That, right on the junction of 105 and Mill Street, they consider that to be a town culvert, which I don't understand because it goes right across the road, so. And then the other one is right on the end of Main Street, where Main Street comes out on 105, so they consider those all to be town culverts. So we had talked about it last year and seeing if they would change that culvert on Shawville, because it's not deep enough to catch the water coming down, and the folks, the Cantels that live there on the corner have complained about the water in the ditch there for quite a while. But anyway, and then, so they told us that, well, it's your culvert, if they were gonna change it, the town would have to pay their contractor to do it. And then unfortunately, our contractor last year decided to pave over that culvert. When they were paving Shawville, they didn't stop where the state was gonna pave to, they paved right over it, so. Anyway, but I did get another call complaining about the water in the ditch there. So, I don't know, we could consider, if we wanted to, we could consider changing that culvert ourselves, because the state is gonna come in and pave that apron. I don't know if we wanna consider doing that or not. but-
The culverts in the states right away?
Yes, but they say it's our culvert.
Basically, really.
Kinda like that one on the other end of Shawville that is in the state's right away that you had to change, that they said was
Yeah.
the town's, yeah.
Sort of.
Conveniently, it seems somehow belongs to us,
Yeah.
not to the town and not to the state, so I don't understand that, but,
Tell them we disagree.
Yeah, I mean, who put it in?
yeah, so,
The easement of the road is, culvert's in the easement. Is in the
Yeah,
state's right away.
yeah, according to their, get onto their right-of-way mapping, and it's in there right away, yeah. But,
Well, it's no different than everybody's driveway culvert.
right, exactly.
They
yeah.
won't touch those. They were cleaning the ditch out by my place there, and I said, "You gonna change that culvert? That driveway culvert's all bad." We don't touch those.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but you're not supposed to work, you gotta get a permit
oh,
to
you gotta
change
get a
it.
permit from them to change it.
Right.
So,
But you gotta pay for it.
yeah, but what if it's plugged and the water runs in the state road?
That's what I'm trying. They haven't fixed it yet.
I don't think, I
It's
don't,
their policy, I guess.
well, yes, but in a way.
Good, bad, or otherwise, that's what they,
You could sue the state.
yeah.
You gotta change this culvert because it's not mine. Right?
Yeah, I mean, policies are there, they're man-made, they can be changed.
So
So,
you should be,
Yeah,
you buy the culvert when you access a road cut. You, the person, like I would buy the culvert and put it in to the state specs. And then now they own the culvert. And they maintain it.
that's our town policy.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the town's policy is. Yeah. Strange.
So,
Alright.
That's something new.
yeah.
yeah.
That's something new. They're not, yeah. Okay. And it's,
Yeah, the only other thing I noticed, when I was doing the work on the grant application I made for the highways, I went around and looked at some of the bigger culverts and got some pictures of them. And the one on the Sweet Hollow Road there's some beaver action going on down there. It's not totally plugged, but it's restricted quite a bit, so we're kind of in a wait and see about that, because
That's the
Yes.
one,
the one right below,
Deep.
yeah,
Yeah, there's no way to get a
Yeah.
piece of equipment down there.
yeah, so maybe there's.
Sweet Hollow.
The one that the town put in there in the late 90s, whatever. you had to-
That ravine
you had
when you first cross over.
Yeah,
The first big culvert?
yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, we checked it out and tried to bring
that's a,
some rakes down there, try to move it out, but it's all like just packed in there and the water's like chest deep.
that's a concrete box.
Yeah.
right, yeah. It's, anyway, I think if we can get through the wet season here and let it dry out, maybe it'll be easier to deal with in a month or so, to get in there and try to take it apart.
once water gets a little
How
warmer, it
much-
won't be so bad, then check
How much wood they got down there?
It's,
Not much.
yeah, I'd say it's like, yeah, it's mostly mud. It's like, well, I forget, that's a 6 or 8 foot culvert, and it's probably 2/3
Oh,
filled with junk. I mean, water still goes in the culvert, but it's just, you can see that the water is backed up quite a bit. They've got a
they got a pump.
big pond back there now, yeah, so.
Well, it's not gonna go away.
No,
you know,
there's absolutely no way you can get anything down there. It's just the way the bank is and the wooded area.
And it's fairly fresh.
Yeah, this happened this spring.
yeah.
Oh, they did it this spring?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, you can see where they've been chomping all over, it's pretty easy to see what they've been doing.
Them busy little beavers, huh?
Right,
They finally left the Chavo one alone.
right.
Canal.
Now they moved down there.
Yeah.
Job security, huh?
Go fight those beavers.
We have to put a beaver baffle in and all that fun stuff, yeah.
Well, they're back on the Bedard Road too, but it's not affecting the road yet.
Yeah. Let's keep it on.
Alright. I'm all set, you guys?
Yep, I guess we're good.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So, roadside mowing, this is the only
Yeah.
bid we.
Yeah, we only got one bid.
Yeah. How does it compare to last year?
I think it's up a bit, I'm sorry, I forgot to print off last year, if I can find it here. I think last year he did 3,500, if I remember correctly, but it might have been more than that, yeah. Just a moment here.
$5 a mile.
Just a moment.
If they've seen that.
So last year he invoiced us for $3,600 for the job. So-
36 per cut,
Right, yeah.
I know.
I think he didn't do quite as much on the second cut, so I don't think we paid.
Alright,
Which is $80 a mile last year.
80 last year, 95 this year. Alright, I'll read the minutes from our previous meeting here. Town of Sheldon Selectboard Water Commissioner, special meeting minutes from April 14th of 2025. Attendance from the select board was Maria Davison, Stephen Dodd, Richard Fiasny. Others here were Matthew Stebbins, Town Administrator, and Jerry Vasey from Northwest Access TV. At 7:36, I called the meeting to order and read the agenda. Added to the agenda was an executive session to discuss personnel matters. At 7:38, board took up the Class 2 and 3 liquor license for the Abbey Restaurant. Rick Piasny moved to approve the license, seconded by Maria Davison, and the motion carried. 7:39, the board took up the application for a road cut on Poor Farm Road submitted by Louis Kilt. Matt explained that the road foreman had determined that the town highway ends before the site of the requested road cut, therefore no permit is needed. The board asked that the road cut permit fee be refunded and credited to the zoning permit for the new house. 7:44, right there. We'll just finish this and then we'll get right with you. 7:44, the board signed warrants. 31,679, 31,681, and 31,682, and excess weight permits for Marigas, Marat Trucking Company, Curtis Lumber, N.H. Sweet Trucking, Iron Box LLC, Kelly View Farm, New England Quality Service, SG Island, Structural Wood Construction, Sun Common, Wind River Environmental, Endless Tracks LLC, Milton Rental and Sales Center, WRS Investments Incorporated. 7:56, I read the minutes from the March 24th meeting. Rick moved to approve the minutes as read, seconded by Maria, and the motion carried. 8:01, Matt Stebbins gave the town administrator's report. 8:35, Rick moved to enter into executive session to discuss personnel matters, seconded by Maria, and the motion carried. In executive session, Steve moved to Approve a raise of $1 an hour for Hubert Spalding and Cody Bombardier. Motion was seconded by Rick and carried with all in favor. 9:07, Rick moved to exit executive session, seconded by Maria, and the motion carried. 9:08, Rick moved to adjourn the meeting for the evening, and seconded by Maria, and the motion carried. Our next regular meeting is April 14th. Meeting to begin at the town garage at 7 o'clock. Next regular meeting, not, you got the date wrong on that, but anyway,
Yeah, what is it, 28th?
that's tonight's meeting. To begin at the town garage at 7 and reconvene in the town office at 7:30. I'll take a motion to accept these minutes as read.
I'll make a motion.
Alright, a second on that.
I second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's, How are you, Tim? Good. Come on right in, we've got a chair right here for
Thanks for making time. Greg, I thought you were retired, no?
you. We pulled him out of retirement.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
You used to be my excuse for being late all the time. So Seth got done?
Yep. Job took him out of town too much, so we had to step down for a while, I guess.
Yep.
Maybe someday we'll get him back. That's all said.
Thanks for putting me on the agenda. I don't know if I'm tardy or not.
Have you met everybody else, you know? This is
How are you?
Maria Davison, she's new this year. This is Rick Gasney,
Rick?
he's also our fire chief.
Yeah, I know. Rick from years ago, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is Nick Norris.
Nick, and Greg. So I tried to get around to all the select boards. I actually just went to Georgia and Swanton earlier tonight and just talking about what's happening economic development-wise. We are spending quite a bit of time with schools. We just did in collaboration with other partners, we organized the apprenticeship day at MDU for 8th and 9th graders to give them a feel about what's available, how they might, start thinking about a career. Some people commented, well, maybe that time frame should be for more juniors, seniors, and it's probably correct. Part of the population should be. I'm sure there's a number of juniors and seniors that don't know what they're going to do. But also, what we're doing is we're starting to do. We've organized tours, one a month, at many of the manufacturers, Border Patrol, and a number, Ben & Jerry's, Barry Callebaut, Mylan. Another thing we did last August was we coordinated visits for all the MVU teachers. We took them around so they understand what's available as well. They went to Swanton facilities, Public Works, and electric utility. We went to, they took them to 2 farms. They took them to the Geishwanger and the Boucher farm to educate them what's farming now. And then we went to, I think, 10 different manufacturers on that day, just to educate them about what is needed and what the skill sets are. I think many of them didn't know what was happening. They didn't know what the needs were.
These are the teachers.
Teachers. We took the teachers, but we've also taken the students, juniors and seniors, 1 a month to different, so next week we go to Milan. So we're taking 20 students from Milan to go to see what that operation is, learn about benefits, learn about pay, learn about whatever they have questions about. So we're spending a lot of time on that because everyone is still looking for help. You know, almost any manufacturer is still short on help and can use help. You know, interestingly, at that apprenticeship day, Vermont Precision had 2 MVU kids. One was working full-time and one was working part-time, and the full-time was, he had learned how to operate a CNC machine, which he could go to any, he could go to Superior Technical, he could go to, you know, he could go to about any raised tubing and dies, he could go about any place he wanted with that skill set. So that's the type of stuff we're trying to get those kids, and they have no interest in going off to college.
Well, the sooner the better. On some of those kids there,
Oh, for sure.
you know, I mean, I remember as a long time ago, but freshman in high school, there was a class, and it was occupational orientation. And
Yep.
we did a bunch of stuff, you know, it was just, yeah.
And MBU's doing more of that with Richard Barwin. He's doing shadowing.
Just to open kids' eyes to
Yep.
how to apply for a job. You know,
Yeah, all that,
do an interview, do all that stuff.
all that is sort of being covered.
Yeah.
You know, building trades every day has 100 kids in it. They've turned kids away for that. And to your point, Greg, they offer a welding class, they're doing,
Yeah.
so kids can graduate, obviously, and go on to find a good job and not have any debt. So that's where we're spending some time. You know, we're looking at, FCIDC is looking, there's no space no industrial space in the county. There's basically 2 vacant buildings, and they are for industrial use. One would be the old Swan Valley or Lucio Farms down in the Swan Industrial Park, and the other one is the Vermont Brick
Oh, yeah.
company on 78. It's in rough shape. Both of them need capital investment for sure, but you know, that's all there is. So
Who owns that Lucille plant?
gentleman out of New Jersey, Chris Latito, he's the one that bought it and opened it up for Swan Valley cheese, and then they couldn't make a go of it, so they closed the doors. And then on the Vermont Brick Building, Travis Belisle owns it.
Okay.
So, and he gutted it. He did a nice job gutting it, but it still needs a lot of work, new roof, insulation and all that. So there's not much, so we're looking at putting up a small, FCIDC is looking at putting up a small 15,000 square foot building in the industrial park. We can break it up into 2 7,500 square foot spaces, or 3 5,000. We've had interest since the tariff discussions have happened. Canadian businesses, there's been 2 or 3 that have called, trying to figure out what their next steps are relative to the tariffs. Seems like a lot of them are looking at using the US for assembly, so they would send their parts and pieces down and then work towards assembly. And then I don't know if it saves them money doing it that way. I'm guessing it does, but that's part of the discussion with the tariffs, and who knows what future that brings. So there's been some Canadian interest, not a lot, but there is, they stopped the construction of the highway. I don't know if people saw that. The I-35 that was gonna come right into Highgate. They shut that down. Coincidence? I don't know. So they, and that would have been huge. for the region in terms of exposure and other activities. But that's not, and then we're still advocating for a welcome center on that, on 89 when you cross the border, someplace between Swanton and the border. If you look at all the other welcome centers or rest areas in the state, there's no 89 north or southbound is the only one that doesn't have a welcome center. There's one in on Route 4A going over to New York. You've got one in outside of St. J, 91 coming into the state, 89 on the southern end. So every entranceway into the state has one, except for probably the one that's most populated with there's 5 million people within 1 hour of the border, and we don't have a welcome center. So advocating for that as well. So those are some of the areas we're focused on.
What's what is this, well, it used to be the White Plant.
Right, so thanks for that, Greg. So Perigo.
Here we go, yeah.
So I just shared this. We've reached out to them along with the state of Vermont to ask them questions. I mean, they're there till 27. I'm not sure what portion of 2027. But the questions the state is curious and they haven't got an answer is, are they willing to sell the building and the equipment as it sits today for potentially another, the plant's changed hands twice already. It went from Mylan to PBM. And it went from PBM to Perigo. So there's already been 2 sales. The difference between now and then is the FDA regulations are more stringent when it comes to baby formula, and some of the equipment that is in the building is obsolete. So if someone buys it, it's going to have to do a pretty substantial capital investment. They were going to build a new facility on site in 22, and then they went ahead and bought one in Wisconsin where they're investing all their money. And that's what happened. The Perigo one just came to a standstill. So the question there is, would they subdivide that land and use it for industrial use as well? They haven't answered that. And then the last one, would be who have they contacted to date? And supposedly the facility can be used for a brewery as well, because it's all food grade.
Yep.
And the FDA regs aren't, for baby formula, so. So that's where that stands. It seems like the employee base is gonna stick it out, because if they do, they get 1 year's severance pay and health insurance. So it seems like it would be worthwhile to continue down that path. So, but
They're
that's
gonna be there till 27.
2027 is what they've announced.
That's what they're gonna.
And so that's 420 employees right now, as it
Really?
stands. Yeah. That helps fill the void for other manufacturers, but it doesn't help Georgia at all to have a vacant plant. So,
Well,
the other piece of that is that there's a water plant that services the industrial park. There's three businesses. It's Bariatrics, Med Associates, and Perigo. And Perigo uses 99% of the water. So what happens in that water plant? Georgia, I think, is contemplating doing a feasibility study.
you can make a lot of beer.
So the plant right now can produce up to 250,000 gallons of water. Currently, it probably produces about 200,000 a day.
Really?
Yeah. But if 99% of that goes away, it's gonna be tough to continue to operate at a cost-effective level. So those are some of the things that we're looking at as well. For the Georgia Industrial Development Court.
Well, there's- something will happen.
Usually does, right? If you look at Energizer, Energizer has proved to be being used by 4 different entities. Job creation isn't quite what it is, but it may get to that with data being in there.
Yeah.
The data investment in the building, if you walk in that section of the building, you think it was a brand new building. Amount of money that went into that.
A site, though. It's a nice site.
What's that?
It's a site. It's a good site.
Yeah.
And so is the Georgia site too, to build a plant somewhere, I mean.
Yeah, the difference between the Energizer building and the Perigo building is the Energizer building was like clear span. I mean, you could look from one end to the other. Perigo is like a laboratory here, a classroom, where, I mean, it's all broken up. It's not your traditional, it's not like a Vermont Precision Tools or raised tubing. It's more, a lot of QC, a lot of chemistry, all that stuff. So it's not, although they do have warehouses that could be potentially utilized as well, so. And then the land they've cleared and permitted, it could be an asset as well. So that's where we're, field days, you might have heard, so field days is still looking for land, I think. You might know more than I, Greg, but
I'm not involved with that.
we got a grant for 25,000, it's not much, but it will be, if they find a parcel of land that they're gonna, the 25,000 will be used for legal and permitting. But I don't think they're looking at, they were looking at around the airport further down, and that's not, I think that fell through with Jim Harrison. So now they were looking at another parcel. I'm not sure where.
What's that infrastructure they're putting up there to the airport? Is that a gas line? What is
No,
that?
water and sewer.
That's just water and sewer?
With the hope that, so Jim's property is adjacent to the airport. And he's looking at 6 or 8 spec buildings long-term that would have water and sewer. So they're running, and for the airport as well.
Yeah.
Airport's looking at more hangars. The airport expanded both in length and width, so they can take bigger planes now. So that's.
Is there freight going in there?
I don't know, in some form, Greg, I think, but I don't know how big a plane can actually land there. Jets can land there, bigger than what was there, but how much cargo, I don't know what the answer is to that. There's rumors of a UPS
Yes.
outlet, there's rumor of FedEx, but I don't know if that's the case or not. So the other discussion that what happens with Amazon warehouse down in Essex, don't sound like the locals want that. So that could end up there, could end up in St. Albans, if interested. There's enough land in the county for that type of building, but the cost of construction is about 300 a square foot right now. So I'm not sure what it's gone up significantly, obviously.
Yeah, everything is.
Yeah, everything is, yeah.
Well, buy a cab. Just buy a cab. Yeah. Price of cabs is double.
So a cow would be how much now? 25?
Right, if you were to buy a 2-year-old cab, 37,
Really?
Yeah,
3,500.
yeah, anywhere from 32 to 42.
Yeah.
And prime ag?
And, horse milk hasn't gone up, doubled yet.
Yeah.
No,
And prime ag acreage is what?
Depends on who's bidding against you.
Yeah.
I don't know, 8,000-9,000 maybe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, good land. Good land. Yeah, I would say. Up away from the river, upland, or
Yeah.
whatever, yeah. Could be less. 3,000-4,000, 4,000-5,000, 3,000-4,000.
So and then,
But the big thing is the price of cattle is, yeah.
I didn't realize it got that high.
Well, it's the price of beef. And there's the floor, you know,
Right.
and that's brought up the everything. Yeah. Yeah. And, yeah, everything we touch is going up.
Except for the final product. Right?
Well, it'll all get there. It'll all get there, because that's all we do, yeah. Just like the $300 square foot.
Yeah. Yeah, the old, I think Energizer, when it shut down, it was renting $4.55 a square foot. New building, you couldn't rent it for less than 12 if you're lucky. You know? I'm not. So,
Well, there's demand then, so they're paying.
but
Well, you said you only have,
Yeah.
you don't have any, you got 2 places in the county that's empty.
the example I tell people is that Adam Ruthier owns Finish Solutions. It's a powder coating business. It's on the backside of it. He's in Energizer building. And there's a pool company up in Point Claire, Quebec that they use him for, like, they sell pool amenities, you know, the flopping flower and for the kids pool and all that stuff. He paints all that for them. And they wanted to be in Franklin County and they wanted to be near him. But they didn't want to wait 18 months to build a new building, or 24 months. And they crossed the lake, and in 3 months from the meeting we had in November, within 3 months, they bought a vacant building in Plattsburgh. Now they'll be up and running in Plattsburgh in a couple months. They just don't want to wait in Vermont for permitting and, you know. We went through that spec discussion and of the energy codes that are being put through by the state. And some of them are ridiculous, you know. Like your outlets need to be on a switch. They're going back to, you know, you throw the switch, like you can have one outlet in the room that's continuous, but all the others go on a switch. So if you have a computer system or whatever, you hook it up to a switch outlet and shut it off, or other things. So there's a lot of that stuff that even adds to the cost on a regular basis. The insulation has
I was
gotten,
gonna say, the insulation I heard.
went from
is-
R27 to R36, I think it's R42 now.
I heard on an average house, that the insulation's gonna go up like $50,000 just to do it.
No, it's energy, that's what sort of sneaks through on the whole, I don't know how it happened, but new regs all the time, and people don't realize it until they start constructing.
Really?
But anyone have any questions of me? Thank you for, I don't stuck around for me at all, but.
Nice talk.
Is there,
Thank you.
is there any, talk about training centers for some of these trades in Franklin County, or? I
Not
see
in
there's
Franklin
a-
County, I
I
mean,
see there's another one just opened up in, what was it, Winooski?
Winooski, yeah, which Ross LeBoy is the director of it.
Oh, is it?
So Ross left the tech center as being the building trades.
Yeah,
So he's running, and basically it's a training center that's Pizza Galley and
Yeah,
the MFD, they contributed money to open it up.
yeah, Seth was working there.
Yep. Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
On the project?
Yeah, he was working, Seth was in there on the project.
all right.
He was talking about that, his last meeting,
So the whole thing is to sort of take that building trade student to the next level, and it's a great plan because it's Pizza Galley, Rearc, all the major ones will benefit from those graduates.
Yeah.
But other training, there's a weatherization class gonna happen in St. Albans Town, teach people and then go out and, handle those requests. Like CVOO has a lot of money to invest in weatherizations, and they've got individuals that can go through that training.
Yeah.
But like I said, building trades is maxed out at VFA. I think most of theirs are all, I heard there are waiting lists on many of the courses, but they don't have money to build. Ross was really pushing hard to build modular homes. And they were looking at some, the old, potentially the old highway garage down on the Newton Road, utilizing some of those buildings for building modular homes and then selling them and moving them out. And I think that's still in the discussion phase, but Ross was really driving that bus, and I don't know who will do it now. But.
Interesting.
What time do you guys start? 7:30?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when Swanton just moved to 6, Roger moved to 6. I don't say that to influence you.
Well, you just threw it out there, though.
What's that?
You threw it out there, so.
I know you got Steve and Greg. 6 doesn't work for you, right? That could be your avenue for retirement, though.
Yeah, that's true. Retirement from here or retirement
Yeah,
from
from
farming?
From here, yeah.
Yeah. Alright, well, thanks, Tim.
Thanks for having me. Thanks
Yep.
for putting me on the agenda. Appreciate
No
it.
problem.
Yep.
If anything comes up, let us know. I'll be glad to come back anytime.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next time.
Have a good one.
You too.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Do you have that letter for the historical society?
Sorry, no, I meant to get that drafted for you, but I haven't got it. So I just wanted to let you know, the Historical Society is applying for the Cultural Facilities Grant. It's the same one they got the elevator grant. So what they're applying for this year is a grant, I think it's
I don't think
it's for the
I'm.
heating system down there. They wanna put in ear-to-ear heat exchanger to,
So we're all set?
have something other than I think right now they just got a monitor heater or whatever, that's on propane, but anyway, Andy reached out to me and asked me to draft something for that, and I haven't gotten it written, but I guess I'm asking the select board if you wanna support a letter like that, and whether I could write that and just have, you sign it, Steve, or I could sign it and send it to the Historical Society. So I'm sorry, I meant to get that drafted for you, but I haven't got it.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I don't see a problem with supporting them.
Okay.
No.
All right.
They're doing a good job of the building down there, I might as well keep it up. If they can,
I guess I think apparently this wasn't a requirement last time that they did the grant, but I guess now there's supposed to be a letter of support from the owner of the building. So
Yeah.
that's why they're asking for it.
okay.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily a letter that authorizes the application, it's really just kind of a cheerleading thing to say, yeah, we want this to happen, so. Okay. So, what you got there, Steve, is the results of the
Audit.
loss control audit from,
Yeah. So they didn't like ourselves yet.
Well, we tore it down. I told them we were gonna tear it down, so.
Yeah.
But as you'll notice, it was basically about access to it, you know, trailers. So if we did fence the whole yard off, that would be a way of dealing with that. But, they had an emphasis on lockout, tagout procedures this time, and we do have some work to do on that. So he gave us, I have some resources that he shared with me last week, and Seth was on vacation, so I haven't been able to share it with him yet, but we'll work on building a kit for that. And there were a few, he had never been down to the sewer plant before, so we stopped in there and looked at it, and there were a few issues there to look at, but he also understood that, I explained to him the difficulty we've had getting new personnel trained to run that, and so he's understanding of that, so.
Okay. Even the library got dinged.
I haven't shared, this is from the VLCT insurance.
Sure.
Yeah.
They come do their safety out of
Well, they have to find something, so.
it. Yep, I found something everywhere. The town office here got a couple of dings. So.
They didn't come visit the fire department?
No, they didn't, I offered to stop by there, but.
I knew better.
Probably.
He was satisfied with the places that we visited. Maybe, I don't know that they necessarily have to visit every building every time, but they go, I think they always go to the garage, and
Yep.
maybe next time we'll visit the fire department. So,
Give us a heads up.
yeah. Will do. But, yeah. Interesting guy, he used to, I guess he did this sort of, he was a lawyer by training, but he used to do this sort of thing out in the Midwest. He has a lot of experience, you know, inspecting concrete plants and places like that, so.
So we ended up selling the fire truck, and I gave the money, I wrote a check to the town of Sheldon to put into our equipment fund. Around 5270, something like that. 52,000.
So it's gone.
I was gonna say, 52.7.
The other one coming.
Should be within the middle of May.
Your truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Went to Kentucky, right?
Yep, I flew up here and drove it home. It said the best driving fire truck they've ever had. We drove it back.
Where in Kentucky?
Glasgow?
That's the one that's the freight wagon.
Yep.
I can just see it. Bob stops, don't know what. Remember when it would?
Yep. And you know what the whole problem was?
I forgot, you told me about it.
Something.
They finally figured it out. It was a key switch. It was the wiring harness that goes into the back of the key switch that was loose.
There's something there, yeah.
For years that bugged.
So
Oh, yeah, all right, so that is the signing authority for the trip. So I'm sorry that I didn't, if you recall, Steve, last meeting, Jane had written a thing for you, and she didn't make it obvious to me that she was requesting something when she did that. So she wants to appoint Demetrius as the assistant treasurer, and as the assistant treasurer, he could have signing authority on the expenses, and
Yeah.
so we would need, so that form is to redo the bank statement that you guys redo the bank authorization that you guys just did last month, but this time authorizing Demetrius and Jane too. And then, she asked that you consider a stipend for Demetrius for being assistant treasurer. I think she had a suggestion for somewhere between $500 and $1,000 for that. So she wanted you to so she has the authority to appoint him as the assistant treasurer, but you need to authorize him to actually sign things, and then she's requesting that he get a little bit more compensation for having that
okay.
office.
Do we need a motion for this?
I'm not sure if you need a motion for that or if you just need to sign it all together,
Okay.
but I think you would need a motion for I think it would be best to have a motion for it.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I second it.
Alright, so I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Alright, so we'll get that for
So I had a question on all the reports, accounts receivable and payable reports. User ID in the top right-hand corner of the reports,
Yeah.
come back to Kim.
Yes, I noticed that as well, Rick, and I've forgotten to ask her about that, why that is. I think it may be that, so when they created they had to create a user in Nemrick and that I think that, I thought that they had created a new user for Jane to do that, and I don't know why it's still showing as Kim on there, so
Okay.
I'll have to ask about that.
Yeah, we should get that changed,
Yeah.
for sure.
Which one do I prefer?
Yeah, oh, sorry, yeah.
Is that, she's just asking us our,
Yeah,
our opinion? on
Yeah,
it.
the shredder broke, I wanna say a couple months ago, actually. We don't use it that often, so it was a long time before anybody noticed it didn't work, so, but we're gonna need a new one, and so she just found a couple options and didn't know if you guys have an opinion or not, or just tell her to do it.
Get
Let us know what
she
shredder you
wants,
need.
Yeah, whatever
because
one you want.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna run it.
right,
so
yep, okay,
Do I have a
I
shredder
don't think
preference?
we're gonna come in here and shred paper for her.
right, okay. Yeah, that was it.
To make some cool high-powered ones, you can put like whole JCPenney catalogs in there. I don't think we need that.
Wood chipper.
What else we got?
Alright.
Is this the bid for the tap?
So there are two, the tax mapping is the one on the other side there. Yeah, there's two, there should be two bids there. Okay, so there's 5 copies of each one.
Oh,
Yeah, so the colored ones are for you, Steve. Alright, so, so just to review this, the tax mapping was last done, I think the last time it was completely done was 2016, so we're quite a few years out. Since we did it in 2016, the state has come up with this mapping database that they use to collect all the parcel data and share it. And so last time we had the tax mapping done, it was done by Barnard and Jarvis, they use surveying, CAD technology to do the tax mapping, but they don't really do what it would require to do the state database would be in GIS format, and the industry standard for that is the Esri platform. So the proposals here are to do the tax mapping and also to update the town's information in the state database based on this new format. And the town will get both the physical copies of the tax map and a digital record of the parcel data information in the industry standard format. And then the idea will be to have to continue a relationship where we update that information every year instead of having to go back 8 years, which is what we're gonna have to do now. And I asked that they structure this so that it would take 2 years to do the project and try to roughly split the cost between the 2 years. So
are both these proposals similar?
yes, well, they're similar in terms of they were based on the same scope of work, but as you can see, there's quite a bit of difference between what they,
We'll get to the bottom line.
the bottom line's quite different, so.
Yep.
I guess updating this format would make it easier, you know, down the road.
Yes, I
when it
think,
needs
yeah,
to be.
Right there.
and, yeah.
That's it. That one's easy, right? The other one you want page 7 for the breakdown? And then totals on page 8?
So yes, the other thing is that having it in the industry standard format, the town will be able to have that data, and then we could, if we want to develop other projects. So for example, I would, in time, I'd really like to see us use the same sort of mapping software for our zoning and assessing work as well. So that you could take these the parcel data, and you could like attach zoning permits to it, or lister cards, or you know, sketches from the sketches of the home or the building that the assessor does with the tax information on it. We could put you know, road cut permits, you could attach those to the parcel as well, things like that.
Yeah.
So there's once the database is sort of created, the town will have control of it, and we could add more information. The good thing about it is you could just add more attributes to it if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But also, and I think for the time being, we would probably continue working with a firm, probably one of whichever firm we award this to, we would probably try to continue working with them to keep it updated year to year. But we could also develop, in time, we could develop the expertise in the town office to try to keep it updated as well. So,
Does this company have references from local?
yes, so there are other, I think
There is other
Fairfield uses them, I think, and there's a couple other ones in the local area. I could get those references for you. But I think there are 80 towns in Vermont that use that.
This
company.
company from New
Yeah.
Hampshire?
The other company I'm not as familiar with.
Talking about the New Hampshire company?
Correct,
Is the one that's prevalent
yes, yeah,
in the area?
yeah, I think, as I said, Fairfield uses them for the similar service. There are other towns in the area, I think, just not remember which
Yeah.
ones.
I think if they're a reputable company for,
Yeah.
cost difference here and,
It's a third.
you have no qualms about,
No, I mean, I've talked, the person who put the proposal together I didn't meet him, but he came and talked with, he had met with Kim before, and so, that's how I knew to contact him, because he had his contact information. Yeah, it's been very pleasant, I've talked to him a few times. And yeah, very pleasant, he's from Barry, I think, originally, he personally.
what's thought? You got a motion for that,
I'll
or?
move it. I'll move it.
I'll second.
Alright, any discussion?
Yep.
Alright, all in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Opposed?
A contact person, it says here. Client shall appoint a contact person to serve as project lead.
I assume that would be myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
We just assume that,
Yeah.
that works for us.
Yeah.
We just wanted to get that.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's just my job to make sure that they get the existing data that we have from the tax maps that were prepared by Barnard and Jarvis, and I think that's pretty easy to do. So. And I know also that, I talked to Michael Jarvis about it, and I think he's worked with this company before doing the same thing that we're doing in terms of sending them the data that they have, so. It should be pretty seamless. So from one to the other.
Okay.
Alright, back to that roadside mowing bid. Is that something we wanna go with? Same bid we got, I guess. Was that just a 1 year?
Yeah, I told him that it was up he could have an option of doing more than 1 year, but he sent it in and the way I read it, it looks like 1 year, so I don't see it. I guess I didn't talk to him directly. I talked to him and I said you got the option, and then I received the proposal in email, but I didn't call him back to ask him. But,
So
I
you-
can do that if you'd like,
Well,
yeah.
I don't know, was it worth
so how much do you
taking
think?
this contract for 1 year and then see about looking for more, or?
Well, I think Seth Hungerford found more, right? That's what it says.
Yeah, that's what
It's time to do stuff for the town nowadays.
I asked him, I was like, what are you getting at here?
He's gonna want
Do you have something better to do?
I said he's kind of a roadside owner. I said he's got all kinds of time to do stuff for the town nowadays and on the board.
I don't know if you guys are. Here it is, you can swipe for the photos. So Rick said he would go check it out because he had all sorts of time there.
Seth bought it?
No,
No.
he presented to us.
Oh.
He sent it to,
Oh. Oh, I thought Seth had bought it and he wanted to mow
You
the
want to show it
road.
off? Oh,
That's a state machine but that's not that's an over the guardrail mower. That's what that is. Not a. That's what that is. It's a boom over the.
I'm still working on the side of the road though, state uses them still.
Yeah, but it's not.
Was it a flail mower? Or?
Yeah, it's a flail mower, but that's a boom to go right behind the guardrails. So it's probably gonna be like a 3 foot. I don't think there's more than a 3 foot mower on that, is there?
Well, we don't really need to go over much more than that anyway, on the side of the road. I mean, what did Jeff have, a 5 foot mower?
Yeah, 6. But you don't, usually you're not out there 6, you're on the whatever, yeah. Yeah. You don't always use the whole 6, but you can.
Excuse me.
Do I think the town can buy a mower and provide labor to it and mow the town's road for less? No.
Over how many years? How many years are we gonna pay thousands of dollars per year to do that?
Yeah, that's the.
I mean, realistically, and it's all about keeping everybody busy, all the time.
Mhm. Yeah. But at 25,
not this year, very soon.
at 25, I would say you buy a $25,000 or $30,000 tractor.
Well, that is not that bad.
Right, but, you maintain it, you park it somewhere. And it's gonna get used, I don't know.
Maybe we pay for it this year and then we spend the time between now and next season to looking and discussing more.
Well, it's, yeah, whether you,
Because I mean, next year if his price keeps going up, at some point we're also like, okay, what point? What's the pain point for, hey, 3 years worth would have paid for the tractor, and then now we're not paying for this, and the things like maintenance, aren't that big of a deal. But if it goes up every year, we're at that point where like, maybe we should just go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing I have looked at but haven't, it's a, besides with getting a tractor, the issue I would run into that is like, what else are you gonna do with the tractor? Cause, just having it for going to go on the roadsides is not, I mean, it does that, it does it well, but there are other jobs that you have for it, and maybe we could find some, but there are other pieces of equipment that can, you gotta look for them, but there are attachments that will go on other equipment. So I think Enosburg, for example, has some sort of a trimmer mower that goes on their grader, for example.
Yeah.
So, and there are some that will go on like a wheel loader, things like that, so, I don't know. I was thinking if the town made an investment in another piece of equipment, like a wheel loader or another grader, or either took the grader we had, but probably upgraded to another grader, and we could look at attachments that would go on that, we could get more.
Well, they had that grader with that mower on it is like, well,
That's more of a brush cutting kind of.
yeah, it is, and they just bought a new grader,
Mhm.
and I don't think they could, the cost of putting it on the other one or whatever, that's why they kept the other grader.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, they got two graders, one to mow the roadside with, I guess. I don't know. But to buy a tractor and buy a mower and maintain the mower and then have the skill sets to go around and mow the roadsides, there's a learning curve out there to do all that.
Mm-hmm.
And
We can rent one every year and have the guys do it for a week, 2 weeks out of the summer.
but at the same time that you're mowing the roadside, that's when they wanna work 4 days a week, and they're, a lot of times they're going on vacation.
Okay.
So, I'm just saying there that, yeah, the expense of buying a tractor and a mower to use for that short period of time, the state used to own mowers too. They don't, they contract it all done. So
how many days did it take, Steve, when he did that first pass?
I want to say maybe 1 week, or maybe, I think, I don't know that because when he was doing it last year, he did Enosburg's as well as ours, so there was some days that I think he was still finishing up in Enosburg. I can't recall exactly, but I want to say it was 4 or 5 days at the most, probably, altogether. And I'm not sure that he necessarily started, first thing in the morning, but it didn't take very long. Of course, if you had it, you could do it more often, in terms, or what you could hit here and there when it needed it, kind of. But
We only opted for one cut last year, right?
well, we did 1.5 essentially. Yeah, we did.
Because he started a little later, because he was doing
drive around and mow.
two passes. So,
Jeff used to always do one pass, and then you go back and do the intersections,
Yeah,
as needed. But, with that mower that you're the picture of the mower, right? No, that mower, that's a boom mower.
yeah.
And,
To see that, you can buy those, you can buy a tractor, you look at the back of that tractor, and it's got the pump on the back PTO.
Yeah.
So you couldn't put a mower on like Steve uses or Jeff used to use, because there's no way to hook it up back there. So that tractor's limited to not even running, like putting a brush hog on to go out and
and that's, the other thing is, that's a 35-year-old tractor. That's a 30-year-old tractor, at least.
the yellow paint's coming off, you can see the green underneath it.
Yeah, I mean, that's an old tractor.
Yeah, it's,
And,
but, I mean, some of those older tractors are better than buying
That's
a
true.
one with all electronics.
That's true.
But
that's true.
I think,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Unfortunately, it seems like with those roadside more, if we were going out and looking for one, it would cost us a lot. And then one will come up, like Seth saw there a couple weeks ago, that would have been a reasonable price, but we weren't really looking for it at that time, so.
maybe we ought to take the bid for this year and then keep our eyes open and, come fall,
The mower,
towns might be getting rid of them.
the mower's not the expensive part of the deal, it's the tractor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And the tractor needs to be, you know, a stable tractor, and you're gonna want a cab on it, so you're gonna be, you know, you're gonna be in the, you know, 80, 90 horsepower tractor range with a cab, with AC, you know, air conditioning. So, you're gonna
Price
be,
range is
you're,
what?
yeah, it's gonna be,
I don't think you need to have a 90 horse to do a 6-foot mower. You can do about half of that, but
well, the size of it, you know, just the size of it is, and the price might not be any different.
no, it might not.
Because, you know, I mean, a Kubota tractor, it's 90 horse, it's not that big.
No,
No.
I'm just looking at the price, or if we paid for 2 cuts this year, I'm like, that's, you know,
right.
3 years worth of cuts, essentially, depending on what the price point is, but what this thing could be. And I'm like, the alternative is we keep paying.
Right.
Well, I mean, the other thing, besides the roadside mowing, then there's the brush cutting, and that's right around this, you know, I forgot, I didn't look at the price yet this year, but there's only one place that rents that now, and it's, you know, $4,500, $5,000 to rent it for a week, so, you know, we don't have to do that every year, but it'd be nice if we could do it more often than we do. If you could get a machine that could do both of those things, it might save you some money, but it's just, you don't do all those things all that often, so that's what I said. I don't know if there's like a just right piece of equipment we could find that we could make another piece of equipment where you need more, like a wheel loader, work to do those things or not. I'm not sure if that's worth pursuing or not, but.
The big question is like, okay, you buy that piece of equipment, and how many hours are you gonna put on it in a year's time? Something you use every day, okay, you know, but
Right.
if you use this, if you go out and mow the roadsides, you use this tractor for 2 weeks out of the whole year.
We got a grader like that. There's a couple of years that haven't even been used.
Grader, wow, it's used more than that, but, you know.
I don't disagree, I'm just saying, you know, we
That's
wanna
the-
keep people busy. And if it makes more sense to put something on a grader or another piece of equipment, then let's do that, or think about it, find it.
Yeah, well, you're not gonna put a boom mower on that old grader, that's for sure.
Right, oh, I don't think so, but.
I mean, you know, say next year the price is 10,000 for 2 cuts, and it's the year that we need to rent the brush thing as well. Now we spent $15,000, and that's why I'm like, not looking at it from an hours perspective as much as a dollar perspective. Like, does that make more sense financially for the town in the long term to keep? I don't know. I mean, well, I agree with Steve that we should just do the bid this year and keep discussing it because we have time.
Save money by having the town's mowing our lawns now,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
so. We used to hire that all done, now it's not, so.
Right.
We can save more money.
Well, I don't know, I keep thinking maybe some of these guys that used to bid on the lawn mowing might decide that they wanna buy a mower, but I don't know. if they will.
So I say we hire the mower, we can have this debate.
This is a good one. Let's keep doing this one.
Does Seth's opinion in this, does that need to weigh in as far as, where you're saying keeping people busy, it sounds like they need more things to do, it's not gonna overload their plate.
I would like to, you know, have a few minute conversation at the end of today's meeting.
He's got a tractor, we could rent his tractor and he could buy a mower.
Yeah, so I think we had kind of stopped talking about, we had talked about roadside mowers last year a little bit, and that had kind of gone on the back burner, and we started talking about other pieces of equipment, like a loader, or maybe a new grader if one came along, or a newer grader if one came along. But then, 3 weeks ago or so, I sent you guys all he had seen that roadside mower and suddenly he was much more interested in it just because that would look like a good deal. But he would, if, I don't want to speak for him entirely, but he would say sort of the same thing Nick was saying, which is that, you know, if, once you add up how much it costs to do the roadside mowing every year and the brush cutting every few years, suddenly the total expense of owning a tractor that may not, if you find the right deal on a tractor, again, if you go out and say, I wanna buy a roadside mower, yeah, well then you're talking about a $50,000, you know, at least dollar tractor and then a mower on top of it probably. But if one comes up, sometimes one will come up, like the one he saw, that is a good, might be less than you'd be paying to rent it out, to have it hired done. But so I think in general he'd be positively inclined to the town doing that, but only if it's the right piece of, if you find the right piece of equipment. If we just decided we were going to go out and look for it, it would be a lot of money to do that. And yeah. Anyway.
Make a motion that we accept the roadside bid for this year and table the discussion.
There you go.
Till we have a meeting where we need to spice things up.
You got that motion, a second on that?
I'll second.
Alright, all in favor?
Alright, we can talk about the cons, or the pros and cons of all, I mean, it would be,
Alright. What's this?
That one, oh, so that is the business that, that we had added, which was for the grant for the pedestrian, sidewalk grant.
So is that the actual sidewalk or is that?
No, this is just a
still
scope,
the
this is a
scope
study,
stuff?
yes,
They're
it's
still
just a
doing-
scoping study, yeah,
Still doing the study.
yeah. But the bid, I believe that the total grant we were awarded for that between what the state would, with the award that we received from the state plus the town's share, the total amount in that grant is supposed to be $50,000.
$50,000 just to study.
Right, yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Alright, so go to college, you can
Right.
put that money
Yeah.
to study in there.
Right.
Sidewalk.
So this bid,
Sidewalks.
yeah,
Studying sidewalks.
that's right. So the contract, as you see, would be right in line with that, and we are also paying Northwest Regional Planning to be the project manager on that, so when you added if this proposal is accepted, plus what we're gonna pay NRPC, we end up having $500 left over, so it's $500 less than the total grant.
didn't I, where the hell that came out?
Right.
Alright, so we need to,
That roadside board's cheap.
I was gonna say, you can buy a mower to mow the sidewalks. Alright, so do I need a motion for this? or
Yes,
just-
we do, yeah.
Okay.
Motion to accept
Oh,
contracts.
wow, they're
Okay,
good.
I need a motion to accept the contract for a grant for studying sidewalks. It's,
So this is the idea is to create pedestrian and bicycle corridor on Mill Street across 105 to the school. So basically to connect the rail trailhead in the Springs near the fire department and create some sort of bicycle pedestrian path down Mill Street and across 105 to the school.
the action item is Poor Farm Road, Mill Street, engagement in the community to improve pedestrian safety along Route 105, Sheldon Springs, including access management to the gas station, improving bicycle and pedestrian connections between the school, nearby housing, and the Missisquoi Valley Rail Trail.
I'll bet that means that they're gonna put a light down there on each side, so if you came out to the road, you're gonna push a button, and lights are gonna come on.
Yeah, what does a corridor mean? I mean, like a right of way? Like, it's certainly not like one of those archways like they have
No,
cover the causeway.
I
You see
imagine,
those, they put two of them in the village of Enosburg. To go across Main Street, and the pedestrians can,
Mm-hmm.
by the rail trail, they can push a button and the lights come on. To warn people that there's gonna be a crossing. You haven't done it,
I don't know where that is.
you haven't seen those?
right,
Cinnamon St. Albans.
right next to where,
It's in all those.
Yeah, same thing.
The yellow, that's probably what,
That's what it would be, yeah.
well, you know,
where, O'Reilly Auto Parts is.
pedestrians coming up
Yeah, there's a rail
Main
trail
Street, going over to
crossing
the
right
school,
there. They put
or
kind
vice
of
versa.
lighted pedestrian signs
They
there.
gotta walk across 105 somewhere.
Yep.
Biggest trouble I have with that crossing 105 is because the way that whole intersection is and cars and there's no, yeah, you know, the houses are close to Mill Street there, so.
So the big, the T,
They'll figure it
it's
out.
wide, it's
Yeah.
wide.
I think most of, just in the talking in the committee, what Kyle Grenier had said to me is that most of what they're gonna be doing is figuring out a way to get from dealing with the store and the state to get across, figure out some way to make that better for pedestrian crossing.
Speaking of Mill Street, have you heard anything on the sewer?
No, I sent Robert an email, but I haven't heard back from him on that yet. But it was just last week, so
Okay.
I could follow up with him. But yeah, we need to get going on that.
Yep. Alright, can I have a motion to accept this contract?
How much is that on our side again?
So it's a, I
It's a
think,
grant, right?
yeah. So it's a
Grant.
$40,000 grant, and there's a $10,000 match from the town.
And it's less than that by 500, you said?
Correct. So once you add this contract plus what we're going to pay Northwest Regional Planning for.
Right.
And the idea is to improve pedestrian traffic between the school and the rail trail.
Correct. Yeah.
From Mill Street.
Yeah.
Like over where,
Well,
like Shawville, like where,
Somewhere.
yeah. Okay.
that's probably. Could be better.
I'll make a motion.
Covered by grant.
I've got a motion, do I get a second on that?
Yeah, I second that.
Alright, all in favor?
Right.
Opposed? Okay,
I don't know how they're gonna do that.
so I need to sign this one?
Yes, that would be in order.
Well, they're gonna have a crossing there somewhere, they're gonna pick out the best crossing.
Just gonna create a bike lane and widen the road.
We'll put a sidewalk on the side of 105 from the school up around, probably. Or the planned one, anyway. The engineers of it. And at some point, you have to have cross white lines in the road and some sort of build a tunnel underneath the road.
Yeah, they did. So they did in Burlington.
Sidewalk plow.
Yeah, just like it.
Yeah.
Just like in Burlington. Yeah,
Excuse me.
Just imagine
What
what's
else we
going on
got?
underneath there.
I think.
All sorts of things.
Well,
Should we go into executive for that stipend for the assistant treasurer, or you wanna discuss that open meeting, or what do you guys wanna do?
that's your. I don't know if you.
Sure.
Yeah, if you would
We
rather.
usually go into executive for any,
Okay.
employee, personnel, pay and all that.
You can do that.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to go into executive session and then adjourn the regular meeting once we exit executive session.
alright, I guess second on that,
I second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned for the evening, Jerry.